Sadly for most GPs, our education is all about insulin initiation and intensification to overcome, GP inertia. We're bad GPs if we're not intensifying the dose and, starting people on insulin. And this was sent to me in an email not long ago for GP education, sponsored by a drug company. And so there's nothing in there about de-prescribing. It's all about starting insulin. I wonder when they do these courses, if they tell GPs that it's actually not a great outcome to be putting exogenous insulin into type 2 diabetics. It actually doesn't let them live longer. It actually increases mortality and increases cardiovascular adverse events. So it's not great. And the more insulin we put people on, the more insulin resistant they become. So you end up on this terrible thing where people are on more and more insulin, just trying to get that sugar down. And that insulin isn't good. It's making them put on weight. It's driving metabolic disease. And it actually increases that SGLT2 receptor that we all love, the drug that does the opposite of that. So insulin's sort of the opposite of an SGLT2 inhibitor. And it increases sodium reabsorption, puts people's blood pressure up. I always say to people, let's just get you on the lowest dose of insulin that keeps the sugars under 10. So how do you stop insulin? How do you de-prescribe it? Gosh, we need more funding. The government needs to give us some more research money. It's very hard. You need a PhD. Gosh, what are we going to do to stop the insulin? Well, you could have an omelet for breakfast. That's how you stop it. And it's not a joke because it's so easy. So you can have a Wheat Bix and a bit of insulin, or you can have an omelet and no insulin. And I have actually had a guy recently who it was as simple as that, and he said, why was I ever on insulin if it was just about like what I was eating? And honestly, I don't know. So if you're a GP and you're not sort of into low carb, just before you initiate and intensify the insulin, why don't you just scan the food? If there's a glass of orange juice in there, if they're having 3 bits of toast, cut it back to 1. Have half the amount of rice. You don't need to be keto. Just screen for those carbs in their food, because most people think they need to lose weight. But if you just tell them, no, just scan for the glucose. So that's easy. You don't even have to be a low-carb GP. So, myself, I always put people on a very low carbohydrate diet. So if they're on insulin, I find you can get people off quite a lot of insulin quite quickly if you put them on a very low carbohydrate diet, which is, I target less than 30 grams total carbs. If you're a GP and you're just starting out, you don't know what to do. When I started, I found this fantastic article by Mark Cucuzella and Adele Height in Diabetes Management, and at the back of it is the Clinician's Guide to Low Carb Diets, and I printed that out. Honestly, that's all you need. It's so simple and fantastic.